Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today I'm going to show you how to play Rivages, which is going to be a 1 to 5 player game published by Pandasaurus Games. Let's say this game is a draft and write game. This game here, you're going to be going over different rounds here. You're going to continue on until you hit the bottom of the regular deck here and hit the purple cards to signal the end of the game. And you're going to be trying to travel through as many islands as you possibly can and gain as many scrolls as you possibly can to have the most scrolls at the end of the game and win the game. So let's go ahead down to the table here. I'm going to show you how to play Rivages. All right, so this is Rivages, and this is going to be a 3-player setup that we're going to go over, but the game can be played 1 to 5 players, and yes, there is a solo mode for this. It could take 20-30 minutes to play, and it's good for kids 8 and up. So the story behind Rivages is this. Centuries after losing touch with the Maya Archipelago, we have discovered a seaway to these mythical islands. They were inhabited by the fabled ancient ones who were famed for their invaluable knowledge and technology, but today all we see of them is their forlorn ruins. Venture through the many islands and rediscover the long-forgotten knowledge they hold. And that is what we are going to do in this game. The objective of this game is going to be able to get as many scrolls as you possibly can by the time the timer runs out. And the timer is going to be the deck here. Once that runs out, the person with the most scrolls is going to win. There's also going to be this objective here that you can aim for at the end of the game, so you can get up to 4 or 2 scrolls or none at the end, depending on how many of these boards you traversed. So let's go ahead into setup, because setup is super easy. What you're going to do for that, just to start off, is you're going to shuffle all these maps. Once you have them all shuffled, you'll put them in a face down pile, and you'll hand out 1 map per player, which these are the island boards. You'll also then hand out these Tree of Wisdom boards. Now there's 2 sides to this. This is going to be the first side, A, and then there's a side B, which has a little bit more choices that you can have throughout the game for your branching paths that you can take, where on side A you just go through the Tree of Wisdom in order and just gain points. It's suggested for your first couple plays that you use this side, and then later on you can use these when you can take advantage of some of these different symbols that are available that help you out. But everyone will be on the same side for the Tree of Wisdom card. Everyone's going to get a dry erase marker, a little felt sheet so you could erase stuff, not felt, but whatever this is. And then everyone's going to get 2 cards from the deck. Now, how do I get these 2 cards from the deck? Well, you have to set up the deck. The way you do that is you're going to shuffle these purple cards down and put them on the bottom. And then you're going to take cards that are less than your equal to or less than your player count. For our case, we're going to go 3 up cards. We have some 2 up cards and so on. And then we took out the 5 up and such. Once you have that, you'll shuffle all these cards up. You'll put them on top of the purple deck, and then you'll hand out those 2 cards to each player. That completes what's needed for the setup for those players. The next thing you're going to do is you'll put out all these scroll in a giant pile there so people can reach it for their points. You're going to put out this bonus tile here. This bonus tile will need to be on the side for your player count, in this case 3 to 5, but if it's 1 to 2, it'll be on this side. And place that out. You will take all of the loot tokens, which are these guys right here. Looks like what the picture's on the bag, these things here, and you'll throw them all in the bag. So they'll be all random for people, and put that out where people can reach. Now, turns are simultaneous in this game because this is a draft and write, I guess you would call it. You have these cards here. So in these cards, you're going to look to make sure you see the number on the bottom there. You make sure they're facing the right direction. With them top down, you can select 1 row on the top of either of these cards that's available. Once you do, you're going to X off that row with your dry erase marker. So we'll go over these symbols in a second, but if I pick this one, I will be able to put those on my board. After I do that, I will pass this set over to the player on the left, and the player on the right will pass them over to me. Now, looking at our board, before we do our selection, the first thing we need to do is select which boat we're going to start off with. Every time you get a board, you're going to select which boat you're going to start off with. At the start of the game, you do get to look at your card before you do that. So look, I have a lot of green and blue. I have the periscope and the tree of life symbol there, totem. Which I'll show you what that does, but the green and blue is right here, so it probably make most sense for me to start off here. Now the board itself will get completed once I traverse the board all the way to the ship. Now there's a couple things on this board to keep in mind. So there's going to be these left and right things that have to do with areas. So if I completely cover a desert area, so I cross off all this of either one, I will gain a scroll, one scroll, and two periscope, or two spyglasses, which I'll tell you what those do in a little bit. If I do a second one, which this one will count towards the next one, if I do a second one, I will get 2 scrolls. Over here, these are the mountains. If I complete one, I get 1 scroll. If I complete 2, I get 2 scrolls. This here, these are special things. So if I can go up and cross off this location right here, I will gain 3 scrolls. So in general, if you look at other players' boards here, these are going to be the same. This will be 2 water areas I cross off to get 2 points. Here's desert for 1 point. These are always different. Now, what you finish on the top one here has nothing to do with completing the second one. So just because I surround this, which is what it means, I have to surround this temple here, black temple or black fortress, sorry. I can't cross it off, but I just have to surround it. Then I can get that scroll into spyglasses. If I do the second one here, I'll get the 3 scrolls. If we have a different one here, some of them require things to be in order. So for this one, I need to go get the key first, and then I can cross off the gate. If I do that, I'll get 3 scrolls and 2 spyglasses. So that's how these boards work. It also has explanations of the symbols and such in the rules here, but these odd symbols that are outside of that, they're nothing really. They're just a location on the board that you need to be at. Some of them have neat thematic things, but either way, it's just symbols on the board that you have to cross off. So now that we know that, we're going to go back to here, and then I'll go over the symbols here. So I have 2 greens and 2 blues. Let's say I want to use those. So if I'm looking at my board, I have some blues here, and I have some greens over here. I can cross off blue, cross off blue. So I crossed off blue, crossed off blue. You want to try to use as much as this can. You don't have to use everything, but you're going to cross off everything on the row regardless. If you can't do anything on one of these cards, meaning there's still something you can cross off, which we'll go over if there isn't in a second, you could cross off all of one row to cross off a single space. Now I have a choice. I can cross off these greens if I want, or I can use any terrain type to cross off a symbol. So right here, I can cross off this tree of life totem here with one of my greens. I then can cross off this space. So then I go to my tree of life here, and I can cross off the first space on there, which gives me a point. So I'll go over, grab a point, put it here. Then I will take these cards and I'll pass them to the player on my left, and then I'll get the cards from the player on my right. I'll just go ahead and cross something off from theirs here to show you the next thing you can do. All right, so let's say I got the stuff from my players on the right here, and they have this row crossed off. I could pick this row or this row. I can't pick anything else, either this row or this row. I do have 3 green here, but I would waste 1 on there. If I want to do this one, I could use the telescope or the tree of life totem. Okay, so what do they do? Tree of life totem, as I showed you, it lets you cross off a location on the tree of life. The spyglass will let you cross off anything adjacent to another cross off section of your board. Now I will mention you don't have to chain anything on here, but you always have to go next to another crossed off path. So I could cross off here, I could cross off here, whatever I want for that. If I have the symbol to do it. So I would pick, so let's say for reasons, I pick this one right here. So I'm going to cross off this one, cross off this. I get to cross off this location, and I'm going to cross off here. I would then pass these over, and I would get the cards for my player on the right. Now, let's show a situation here. So when I get the cards for my player on the right here, this whole board is crossed off. If that's the case, I get to discard this board and draw another card. This is how we're going to get to that timer at the end of the game. And then I could pick either whatever the topmost row is to use. Once we go through these rounds and we get to, something got messed up here, sorry, the purple cards, the round, that signals the end of the game. We'll finish the current round that we're on, that we hit the purple cards, and the game will end. And the person with the most scrolls will win. And then we'll go over the bonus tile right there. But first, let's go over some additional things in the game. Now, in the back of the rule book, I really wish they would have had a player reference card on here. That would have been amazing because there's really not a whole lot on here. If they had a player reference card, you wouldn't even need this. But let's go over the other symbols, and then I'm going to go over completing the board. So the other symbols you can get for stuff that pops up is you get that cross off the next space of the tree of wisdom. You get the totem here. You get the spyglass, which I showed you. This is just getting the points, which I showed you. But there's a couple extra things here. There's going to be these where you show a color and a check. If that's the case, you have to have at least one checked off part in that region, and then it lets you check off the rest, which is really nice. This one here is the same thing. It's just you get to pick which color it is, but you still have to have at least one location in that grouping checked off in order to be able to use this to finish it off. These are a lot of what you're going to find in these loot tokens. And you don't have to spend these loot tokens. When you do spend them, you throw them away, but you could hold them to the end of the game if you do. They're only worth a point, so they're really not worth holding on to, but at least you don't lose something if you keep it. Now, if you get cross off a loot location with, again, you can use, when you're able to, you can use any terrain type to be able to cross that off. You'll draw from this loot bag, and you'll get this little loot token, and this loot token will give you a cool one-time ability you can use anytime you want, and when you do, you discard it. Okay, so that's what these different symbols do, and how you could score with the boards. And as you score with the boards, you'll be crossing stuff off. But once you get to the other ship, the board will end. When the board ends, you're going to immediately set it aside because you're going to count these boards, how many you do, because that's going to be important. You're now going to flip over the next map. You're going to pick which ship you want to start with and cross it off. So that's going to be how you're going to transition between tiles. And like I said, we're going to continue going until we get to the bottom of this deck here with the purples, and then we'll do that last turn. Now let's get into the specifics of the scoring itself. So the scoring itself, you're going to simply get the scrolls that you had, that you're going to get the points for that. You're also going to look to see how many of these maps you've gone through. Now this will count the current map you're on, even if you only crossed off the ship. So whoever finished the most maps, or well, traversed the most maps, not necessarily finished, will get 4 points. If the next player will get 2 points on this. Now, all right, so if 2 players actually have the most, those still get 4 points each. And now the second player, the player that has the second most, will get 2 points each. So just that for ties for this, that's how that gets resolved. Now, the player with the most scrolls wins. In case of a tie, tied players share their victory. And that's it. That's really how you're going to play Rivages. This is a very easy game to teach and a very fluid game to play. So you could go burn through this game really quickly, and you want to play probably best 2 out of 3 with this. Now there is a solo mode. I'll let you discover that for yourself, but I will say that the solo mode is neatly laid out here on these 2 pages here. So once you know the base game, which is very important to know for the solo mode, it's not very difficult to get into the solo mode. So there's that available. Also, I really just always use this side. There's really not much more to this side once you know what these symbols are. It's just more decisions that you can make for this. So B is not that big of a deal to play, and it gives a little bit more decisions for the players instead of just, going up and getting points. So it could be more interesting. But that's going to be how you play Rivages. Thank you for watching.